Time now for your forewarned weather with Chief Meteorologist Alana Brophy.
Okay, talk about a wet weather weekend we're recovering from. Woo.
Sure was, Alana.
Soggy conditions. We desperately needed the moisture, and we got it. Great totals coming out of that storm. And here we are, starting the work week. Happy Monday, friends. All right, it's cool out there. A little cooler than maybe you like, but don't worry, we don't stay that way. Live view from Logan, Old Main looking pretty green and not a huge surprise with all that moisture, right? Northerly component to our winds. Of course, keeping those temperatures below average, but we're drying out as that storm system has moved to the east. A little bit of cloud cover on the eastern side of the state, but that moisture has moved into Colorado, and we're fairly quiet. Let's look at some of these big totals. These were big numbers. Kaysville getting 1.4 inches, more than an inch in Centerville, close to it in the higher elevations of Salt Lake. Holiday at 8/10 in Spanish Fork. So this was a statewide system for soggy conditions Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. 3/4 of an inch in Fillmore, sharing the love in central Utah. Up north, 7/10, more than half an inch in Enterprise in southern Utah, Ogden, and St. George with some healthy totals there. It was great moisture for Washington County. As we look at the month-to-date precipitation, we like to keep track of that throughout May. And what you're seeing here in blue is the precipitation that we've accumulated. In green, that's our monthly to date average. So great to see places like Logan, Provo, Cedar City, and St. George with healthy precip totals coming off of a soggy weekend. Dry conditions down there in southern Utah right now. Time-lapse video from our Black Desert Sky Cam shows the clouds sneaking through. Temperatures have hit 80 degrees in Ivins. We've been in the 70s in St. George, 79 right now in St. George with a lot of 50s out there. 74 is our average high in Salt Lake, but we're running 19 degrees below that right now. 50s and 60s on the eastern side of the state. Logan took its time getting to 50. Southwestern Wyoming cold, 44 only in Evanston. For the Wasatch Front, if you're stepping out tonight, well, throw on the jacket because we've got clearing conditions. The sun will go down and clear skies will set up with upper 40s expected by ABC4 News at 10. That means another chilly start to the day. So Tuesday, coming in cold, and that's why we've got that freeze warning that is posted. It will remain in effect until 10 a.m. tomorrow. It includes a large portion of the West Desert, the Sanpete and Sevier Valleys, the western Uinta Basin. We're talking temperatures between 26 and 32 degrees. So we always say don't plant until you hit Mother's Day. And then we hit Mother's Day and you thought, okay, this is great, but this is a telling sign that yes, cold air moving in, cover that sensitive vegetation if you have already planted. It's the fruit trees, my friends. All right, we watch as the low slides to the east. Few showers linger right near the state line for tomorrow, but that's before high pressure sets up. This ridge of high pressure is large, and it is going to encompass the western United States. That will allow for a warming trend, so warmer temperatures, and the positioning of the ridge may allow for a few little disturbances to ripple through northern Utah because you see active conditions in the Pacific Northwest in places like Washington, Idaho, Montana. We could get maybe a front sneaking through. Looks moisture starved at this point, but you can't rule out an isolated shower. But the big dominant weather feature will be the high, and that's a switch in our weather pattern coming off of this soggy weekend. Futurecast shows us what to expect here. Yeah, a little bit of moisture right there near the state line by tomorrow afternoon. That's why you see an isolated chance on the 7-day. And other than that, pretty quiet conditions. As we look at our high temperature trend above average, it's coming. You like the warmth? It's right around the corner. We also will see that in the south, and that does include your Memorial Day weekend. Like to forewarn you early as you plan. 60s and 70s for tomorrow. Still below average, but pleasant temperatures. We'll see 60s and 70s in eastern Utah, 87 in St. George, and that is the seasonal norm. So average for tomorrow before we jump into the 90s. Check out Washington County, 97. Cooking a little bit with that sunshine. Memorial Day weekend looks warm and dry in the south. As we check the Wasatch Front, we are on the warming up and up. We get to the 80s. That will feel nice, and we stay there for several days. Slight chance for the holiday weekend. We could see a thunderstorm, but that ridge really grabs the Great Basin and dominates the weather story.
Dominates.
Ooh.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.